Imagine this. You're at a wedding, surrounded by happy couples, and someone asks, "So, when are you getting married?" You force a smile, but deep down, a thought lingers. Am I missing out on something? What if I told you that being single could be the best thing that ever happened to you? That you don't need a relationship to be truly happy? Stick around, because what you're about to learn might just change your perspective forever. Meet Sarah. She's 29, successful, funny, and independent. But every time she scrolls through social media, she sees engagement announcements, romantic getaways, and couples looking happier than ever. She starts questioning herself. Why am I still single? What's wrong with me? Her friends say, just put yourself out there. Her family hints, maybe you're being too picky. The pressure builds and loneliness creeps in. But then, Sarah stumbles upon a book that flips her world upside down. How to Be Single and Happy by Jennifer Taitz. As she turns the pages, she realizes something shocking. Happiness isn't about finding the right person. It's about becoming the right person for yourself. And that's where her transformation begins. Lesson 1. Happiness comes from within, not from a relationship. Sarah had always believed that finding the right person would make her happy. Like many, she grew up watching movies where love was portrayed as the ultimate key to happiness. From fairy tales to romantic comedies, the message was clear. Happiness begins when you find the one, but life had other plans. After a long-term relationship ended, Sarah found herself feeling lost. She had invested so much of her identity and happiness into her partner that, once they were gone, she felt empty. It was in this moment of solitude that she began questioning everything. Was happiness really tied to being in a relationship? The truth about happiness. Society conditions us to believe that love completes us, that we are only truly whole when we have a significant other. But research tells a different story. Studies have found that the happiest people aren't necessarily those in relationships. They're the ones who cultivate self-compassion, gratitude, and personal goals. Dr. Sonia Lyubomirsky, a leading happiness researcher, found that external circumstances, like relationships, account for only about 10% of our overall happiness. The rest comes from within, our mindset, our habits, and how we perceive the world. This realization was a game changer for Sarah. She started reflecting on her life and asked herself, what makes me happy outside of a relationship? What are my personal goals and dreams? How can I enjoy my own company? The cake analogy. Happiness first, relationship second. Imagine happiness as a cake. The foundation, your life, your passions, your sense of self, is the cake itself. A relationship? That's just the icing. Sure, icing makes the cake sweeter, but if the cake itself isn't good, no amount of icing will fix it. Too many people make the mistake of searching for icing before baking their cake. They believe that love will fill their emptiness, that a partner will make them feel whole. But a relationship should enhance your life, not be the sole source of your happiness. Sarah decided to focus on herself. She started practicing self-compassion, speaking to herself with kindness instead of self-criticism. She kept a gratitude journal, writing down 3 things she was thankful for every day. She set personal goals, learning a new language, picking up painting, and traveling solo. The more she invested in herself, the more she realized something incredible. She wasn't just surviving without a relationship. She was thriving. The shift in perspective. This doesn't mean relationships aren't important. Love is a beautiful part of life, but it should never be the foundation of happiness. When you rely on someone else to make you happy, you give away your power. True happiness comes from being at peace with yourself. Sarah's journey wasn't about rejecting love. It was about understanding that love should complement her happiness, not define it. And when the time came for her to enter a new relationship, she approached it differently. She no longer looked for someone to complete her, because she was already whole. Build a life you love first. A relationship can add joy, but your happiness should always come from within. Lesson 2. Stop the grass is greener syndrome. Sarah always believed that happiness was just one relationship away. Whenever she saw couples holding hands, laughing together, or posting cute pictures online, she felt a pang of longing. If only I had that, she thought. But what she didn't realize was that even people in relationships feel lonely, frustrated, or unfulfilled at times. The idea that a relationship would fix everything was just an illusion. One day, Sarah stumbled upon a study from Harvard that changed her perspective. The study revealed a surprising truth. Happiness doesn't come from external circumstances, but from focusing on the present moment. People who constantly chase the future, whether it's a better job, a better house, or a better relationship, often remain dissatisfied. But those who appreciate their current life experience greater fulfillment. Sarah had been living with what psychologists call the grass is greener syndrome. She believed life would be better if she were in a relationship. But would it? The trap of romanticizing relationships. We often assume that being single is a problem that needs fixing. Society reinforces this idea through movies, social media, and even well-meaning friends and family who ask, "So, when are you going to settle down?" But research shows that even those in relationships experience loneliness, stress, and unhappiness. Many couples struggle with communication issues, differing life goals, and the everyday challenges of maintaining a relationship. The truth is, no relationship is perfect because life itself isn't perfect. Sarah realized she had been romanticizing relationships without seeing the full picture. Instead of focusing on what she lacked, she decided to shift her perspective, appreciating the present. Sarah made a conscious effort to embrace the joys of her current life. Instead of dwelling on what she didn't have, she started appreciating what she did. Freedom to explore new opportunities. She could travel, take risks, and make decisions without having to compromise. Time for self-growth. She could invest in her hobbies, fitness, and personal development. Stronger friendships. She deepened her connections with friends, realizing that love comes in many forms, not just romantic relationships. By focusing on these aspects, Sarah started feeling happier, more content, and more in control of her own life. The power of mindset. The Harvard study reinforced what Sarah had started to practice. Happiness isn't about what's missing. It's about fully experiencing what's present. She stopped idealizing relationships and started embracing her journey. She realized that being single wasn't a waiting room for happiness. It was an opportunity to build a fulfilling life on her own terms. The grass isn't greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it. Instead of longing for a different reality, focus on making your present life as joyful and meaningful as possible. Lesson 3. Rewrite the love story you tell yourself. For years, Sarah had told herself the same painful story. I'm just unlucky in love. Every failed relationship, every heartbreak, and every lonely Friday night seemed to confirm this belief. She saw herself as someone who just wasn't meant to find lasting love. And the more she repeated this story, the more it shaped her reality. But one day, Sarah came across a powerful psychological concept, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. Research in CBT shows that our thoughts shape our emotions, which in turn shape our actions. By changing the way we think, we can literally rewire our brains for happiness. That's when Sarah had an epiphany. What if the problem wasn't her love life, but the story she was telling herself about it? The power of reframing. Sarah realized that she wasn't unlucky in love. She had just been looking at things the wrong way. She wasn't alone. She was free. She had the freedom to make her own choices, to pursue her passions, and to shape her life without limitations. She wasn't waiting for love. She was living. Every day was an opportunity to experience joy, growth, and adventure, whether or not a partner was involved. She wasn't unloved. She was surrounded by love. From family and friends to the simple joys of life, love existed in many forms beyond just romance. By reframing her thoughts, Sarah started to feel lighter. She stopped seeing herself as a victim of bad luck and started embracing her journey with gratitude. The science behind the shift. CBT studies prove that reframing negative thoughts into positive ones significantly boosts happiness levels. When we constantly tell ourselves negative stories, our brain reinforces those beliefs, making them feel more real. But when we replace them with empowering narratives, our mindset, and ultimately our life, begins to change. Sarah began practicing this daily. Whenever she caught herself thinking, "I'll be happy when I find someone," she replaced it with "I'm already happy, and love will come when it's meant to." A new love story. Sarah no longer saw her life as incomplete. Instead, she saw it as an evolving adventure. She filled her days with activities she loved, set personal goals, and embraced every experience as part of her unique journey. And the most amazing part? As soon as she stopped chasing love and started truly living, happiness found her within herself. The way you talk to yourself shapes your reality. Instead of seeing yourself as unlucky in love, rewrite your story. You are not waiting for love. You are living. And that shift changes everything. Lesson 4. Date yourself first. For most of her life, Sarah believed that happiness was something she would find in another person. A romantic dinner, deep conversations, and sweet moments. She thought these things would finally make her feel complete. But after years of searching for love outside herself, she realized something important. She had never truly invested in the most important relationship of all, the one with herself. One evening, while scrolling through social media and seeing post after post of couples out on dates, Sarah had an idea. What if I start dating myself? Becoming your own best company. At first, the idea felt strange. She had always thought of dates as something you did with another person. But what if she could enjoy those same experiences on her own? She started small, taking herself out for coffee at a cozy cafe, reading a book by the window, and savoring every sip instead of mindlessly scrolling through her phone. Then, she got bolder. She booked a solo trip to a nearby city, explored new restaurants, and tried activities she had always wanted to do but had been waiting for a partner to join her in. Something unexpected happened. She started enjoying her own company. She no longer needed someone else to make her feel special. She discovered new hobbies and passions that made her genuinely happy. She strengthened her friendships and realized that love existed in many forms, not just in romance. The power of self-investment. Sarah learned that when you love and respect yourself first, you stop seeking validation from others. She no longer felt desperate for attention or affection because she had already given those things to herself. Instead of fearing solitude, she embraced it. Instead of waiting for someone to take her on a dream date, she planned her own. And instead of believing she needed a partner to be happy, she realized she had everything she needed within herself. Your challenge: take yourself on a date. If you've never done it before this weekend, try taking yourself on a date, no phone, no distractions. Go to your favorite restaurant and truly savor your meal. Take a long walk in nature, just you and your thoughts. Visit a museum, bookstore, or coffee shop and enjoy the experience fully. At first, it might feel uncomfortable, but soon you'll realize that you are enough. Before chasing love from someone else, invest in yourself. When you become your own best company, you no longer need love. You simply choose it when the right person comes along. Lesson 5. Let go of social pressure. Sarah had always felt like she was running a race she never signed up for. From family gatherings to social media, there was a constant unspoken message. You should be in a relationship by now. Friends were getting engaged, relatives were asking when she'd settle down, and romantic movies made it seem like love was the ultimate achievement. For years, she let these expectations weigh her down. Every time she saw another engagement announcement, she felt behind. Every time a family member made a comment about her love life, she felt inadequate. It was as if her worth was tied to her relationship status. But one day, she asked herself a simple question. What if I stopped living for other people's approval and started living for myself? Breaking free from society's timeline, Sarah realized that society had created an imaginary timeline for life. Find love in your 20s. Get married before 30. Have kids soon after. But when she looked at the happiest people she knew, she noticed something. They weren't the ones who blindly followed this script. They were the ones who created their own. Some found love at 20, some at 40. Some never got married and lived fulfilling, adventurous lives. Others built meaningful relationships that had nothing to do with romance. She decided to stop measuring her life against someone else's expectations. Happiness comes from living on your own terms. When Sarah let go of societal pressure, an incredible thing happened. She felt free. Free to enjoy the present without worrying about an imaginary deadline. Free to define success in her own way. Free to focus on her own growth, passions, and happiness. She stopped attending events just to prove she was doing fine. She stopped explaining why she was single. She stopped comparing her life to curated social media posts. Instead, she started truly living. A reminder for you, if you've ever felt pressure to be in a relationship, to settle down, or to follow society's expectations, remember this. The happiest people in the world are those who live life on their own terms. There is no timeline, no rule book, no right way to live. Happiness isn't about meeting other people's expectations. It's about creating a life that feels right for you. So, let go of the pressure. Your life is yours to define. The hidden cost of chasing love. Imagine this. You spend years chasing relationships, believing that the next one will finally make you feel whole. You put yourself through heartbreak, disappointments, and endless swiping, only to wake up one day and realize that happiness was in your hands all along. How does that feel? Regret? Frustration? A sense of loss? This is where emotional triggers like FOMO, fear of missing out, loss aversion, and social proof play tricks on us. Society conditions us to believe that being single means missing out, that we're somehow behind if we don't have a partner. But what if that's the biggest lie we've ever been told? The truth about happiness and relationships. Here's what studies and real-life examples prove. FOMO, fear of missing out, is an illusion. We see couples posting perfect moments on social media and assume they're happier. But behind closed doors, many of them struggle with the same doubts and loneliness that single people do. Relationships don't automatically equal happiness. Loss aversion keeps us stuck in bad cycles. Many people stay in unfulfilling relationships because they fear starting over. They cling to what's familiar, even if it's making them unhappy. But the truth is, losing yourself in the wrong relationship is far worse than losing the relationship itself. Social proof makes us believe that love equals success. When society constantly celebrates relationships, engagements, weddings, anniversaries, we start equating them with success. But if you look at the most confident, independent, and truly happy people, they aren't the ones desperately searching for love. They're the ones who built fulfilling lives first, and as a result, naturally attracted the right people. The key to healthy relationships: be whole first. People who learn to be happy alone end up attracting the healthiest relationships. Why? Because they're not looking for someone to complete them. They're already whole. They choose love, not out of desperation, but out of genuine connection. They set boundaries, they respect themselves, and they don't settle for less than they deserve. This is the same principle followed by highly successful, independent individuals worldwide. The happiest, most confident people aren't the ones in relationships. They're the ones who have built a life they love, whether they're single or not. So ask yourself, are you chasing love, or are you building a life that feels good on its own? Because when you do the latter, the right people naturally gravitate toward you. So now, I want to hear from you. What's one thing you love about being single? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more life-changing insights that will help you live your best life.